The coffee in her hand was cold. Not iced cold, not refreshing, but the kind of cold that says, "You've been holding this too long. You're still waiting for something that isn't coming." Dalia Elise stood beside the luggage cart outside the terminal at Austin Bergstrom International. Her hand trembled slightly, knuckles white around the paper cup. She had woken up at 5:30 a.m., ironed her jeans, double-checked everyone's boarding passes. She even printed extras just in case someone forgot. She was always the one who remembered. The sun was already starting to sting her skin through the windshield. Her mom was laughing, taking selfies with Sable, the golden daughter. Corbin leaned on the back of the SUV, scrolling through his phone like nothing in the world concerned him. And then, her dad didn't look at her. He didn't say her name. He just muttered over his shoulder, "Don't block the lane, Dalia. Push the bags faster." She didn't answer. She didn't ask. She just obeyed, because that's what daughters like her do. The TSA signs blinked overhead. The sound of suitcase wheels scraping across the tile echoed like background noise in a bad dream. Then the airline counter, then the agent, then the ID, and then the message. Her phone buzzed. She thought it was a reminder. Instead, it read, "The plane's not for you, loser. Push your luggage to the train." For 3 seconds, she couldn't breathe. The kind of shock where the world goes quiet before it explodes. Her eyes searched for someone, anyone, to tell her it was a joke, but her mom giggled. Corbin burst out laughing. Sable took a photo. And Dalia just stood there, frozen. The TSA checkpoint buzzed. People lined up, laughing, adjusting backpacks, hugging goodbye. It looked like any normal airport moment. Except this wasn't normal, not for Dalia Elise. Just 10 feet away, her family laughed. Her mom held up her phone at the perfect angle, tilting her head beside Sable. "Say, Napa!" Sable gave a dramatic wink. Click, flash, giggle. Her father didn't turn around. He was already handing over the boarding passes, the ones Dalia booked. Corbin, her brother, leaned toward her with a smirk. "Damn, sis, that face. Somebody take a picture of that." He didn't even whisper it. It echoed. A few people in line turned to look. One little girl tugged on her mother's sleeve and whispered, "Why is that lady crying?" But Dalia wasn't crying. Not yet. Her body froze, but her mind screamed. She had paid for this. She had planned it. She had booked it down to the tasting tours and wine-paired dinners. And now, she wasn't even worth a look back. As the TSA gate swallowed her family whole, Dalia stood in the fluorescent hallway. The same way you might stand at a funeral for a version of yourself that had just died. No hug, no wave, no "we'll miss you," no last glance, no hesitation, just the sound of suitcase wheels dragging across polished tile, echoing louder than it should because there was nothing else left. Dalia didn't scream, didn't chase after them, didn't call out, "Wait, this must be a mistake," because deep down, she knew it wasn't. They had made their decision long before they reached the airport, long before the boarding pass, long before the text message. This wasn't an accident. It was an execution. And the only thing they left behind was her, alone. Between Gate 12 and a vending machine that hadn't worked since 2018, Dalia stood in a silence thick enough to drown in. Behind her, the smell of cinnamon pretzels. In front of her, nothing. No one turned around. No one texted. No one cared. So she turned her suitcase around and walked in the opposite direction. It was quite literally the coldest goodbye she'd never been given. The apartment was still. No voices. No laughter. Just the soft click of Dalia's laptop as it powered on. She sat at her kitchen table, hands trembling, eyes dry but sharp. The screen lit up. The file was already waiting. Untitled.xlsx. She renamed it slowly. Everything they took. And then she started typing. Row 1. Corbin's tuition. She had paid it. 3 semesters. After he dropped out the first time. "Just until I get my major figured out," he'd said. Row 2 Mom's salon bills. She had thought it was a birthday treat. Now it showed up every month, recurring, on her credit card. Row 3 Dad's golf club membership. He said it was temporary. That was 4 years ago. Row 4 Napa. The trip, flights, hotels, wine tours, group dinner for Mom and Dad's anniversary, all charged to her. Each line she typed felt like a bruise she'd never allowed herself to press. She didn't cry. She calculated. Not revenge, just record-keeping. A quiet accounting of everything she was told to give without ever being asked. It started with an email. Subject line, confirmation of SSN for supplemental health coverage. Dalia blinked. She hadn't signed up for any health insurance. She clicked the email. Her full name, her birthday, her social security number. Verified. The listed contact, Harlon Elise. Her father. She called the insurance company. The woman on the line was polite, flat, scripted. Yes, ma'am. It appears your SSN is tied to a family policy, but the main administrator is Mr. Harlon Elise. Dalia's throat tightened. She whispered, "Can you remove me?" A pause. Not without formal legal action. Of course. She hung up, fingers trembling. But she wasn't done. She opened her banking app. Another alert. A credit card. Chase Sapphire Preferred. Balance $517.87. Wine orders. Electronics. Hotel stays in Dallas. She never opened that account. Never touched any of those items. But the name on the card? Dalia Elise. Her name. Her credit. Their fun. They hadn't just taken her money. They had taken her existence and turned it into a tool. A name to sign, a wallet to drain, a ghost who funded the party she was never invited to. It wasn't just the money, not the stolen credit cards. Not the unauthorized insurance, not the hotel bills she didn't sleep through. No, this was deeper. They had been living through her name. Everything from concert tickets to car repairs processed through an account labeled D. Elise. Not Dalia, not our daughter, not my sister, just D. Like a utility, a transaction code, a silent funder with no face. She pulled up the family's shared calendar. Her initials were there, D, on every major event. D brings dessert. D handles booking. D will drive. No thank you. No confirmation. Just expectation. Somewhere along the way, she stopped being a daughter and became a service provider. They didn't even need to ask anymore. They just assumed. Because Dalia always handled it. And because Dalia was no longer a person to them. She was an ATM with a smile they didn't bother to look at anymore. Dalia was just 10 years old, and she had been counting down the days. Her birthday was supposed to be a celebration. A day where she would be the center of attention, where balloons would float and laughter would fill the house. She had picked out everything herself. The pink balloons with little white stars, carefully tied with curling ribbons. The strawberry cake, not chocolate, not vanilla, but strawberry, her absolute favorite. She chose the paper napkins with the smiley faces on them and imagined her 3 closest friends gathered around the kitchen table singing happy birthday just for her. That morning sunlight poured in through the kitchen window. The smell of fresh pancakes filled the air. Dalia's heart was light. Today was her day. But then her mother's voice cut through the excitement. Soft but firm, unyielding. Plans have changed. Corbin's award ceremony is today. You understand, don't you? Dalia looked up. Her mother was already brushing her hair back a little too hard, trying to hide the guilt in her eyes. She nodded silently. She didn't ask questions. She didn't argue. She just swallowed the disappointment. Hours later, the house was filled with people celebrating, but not her. The cake was there, yes, but the name on the cake was not hers. It was Corbin's. Dalia watched as the candles flickered in the dim light. She heard the applause, the singing, saw the smiles directed at her brother, the boy who got the spotlight that night. She clutched her unopened gift bag, feeling its weight in her hands. Quietly, she slipped away to the closet, closed the door behind her, and sat down on the cold floor, alone. That night, she learned a lesson that would echo through her life: to be quiet, to disappear, to not take up space, so others could shine. That birthday was more than just a missed party. It was the moment Dalia learned her first lesson in invisibility. She learned to disappear, not because she wanted to, but because she believed it was the only way to keep peace. From then on, she became the unseen witness, the one who held the camera but never stepped into the frame, the quiet architect behind every family photo, the silent hand arranging every gathering. Dalia mastered the art of blending into the background. Her laughter was there, just out of focus. Her presence was felt, but never acknowledged. She sacrificed her own spotlight so others could shine brighter. Because in her family's story, being seen was a luxury she was never allowed. At first, she thought it was a mistake, a missing name on a boarding list, a forgotten ticket. But when she got home, the truth hit harder than any text message. The fridge door was plastered with a yellow sticky note, "Packages arriving Tuesday. Don't miss it again like last time." A reminder not for a family member, but for the housekeeper. And the housekeeper was Dalia. She wasn't forgotten. She wasn't an accident. She had been deliberately erased. The tickets weren't missing. They were never there. The note wasn't new. It had been on the fridge before they left. They had planned this, agreed on it, executed it. She wasn't just left behind. She was removed, like a file, deleted, not lost. She walked into the living room and something felt wrong. The photo above the fireplace, the one she had printed, framed, and carefully placed, was gone. In its place hung a new canvas, sleek, polished, overproduced. It showed the family at the beach, wind blowing hair, smiles wide. But there was something missing, or rather someone. Where she once stood, there was only sky and waves. Her face had been erased, photoshopped out like she never existed. No footprints left behind, no traces in the sand, no laughter captured in the frame. It was as if the memory itself had been rewritten. She reached out, touched the empty wall where her image once lived, and in that silence she felt the coldest loneliness, because she wasn't just forgotten, she was deliberately erased. In the quiet of her apartment, Dalia opened her voice recorder. Her hands still shook, but her voice was steady. "My name is Dalia Elise. I was erased while paying the bill." She spoke every word carefully, every charge, every unpaid debt, every stolen moment. This was more than a list. It was her declaration, her first act of rebellion. She wasn't invisible anymore. She was speaking, claiming her space. This recording was no shout, no plea, just the clear, unwavering truth. And for the first time in years, it was hers alone. The drive felt strange. Every turn, every stoplight, every pothole, familiar, yet foreign. Memories flooding like a tide. She pulled into the driveway. The house stood silent, pristine, empty. No one greeted her. No door opened. No footsteps echoed down the hall. She stepped inside. The air smelled the same, vanilla candles, floor cleaner, but something was missing. Her old bedroom was gone, transformed into a guest room. Beige walls, pristine pillows, no sign of her, no name on the door. No trace in the sheets. She walked slowly through the house, touched the counters, the banisters. Everything was too clean, too quiet. She felt like she had entered a tomb, not a home, a place where her presence had been sealed away, forever. She stood in front of the mailbox, the metal flap cold beneath her palm. Her fingers curled tightly around a small white envelope. Inside was a check, the last bill she'd quietly paid for them, Sable's car insurance. And a single sentence typed and printed, "From now on, my name funds no one but myself." Without hesitation, she slipped the envelope through the slot. The clang of the mailbox echoed loudly in the quiet street. She didn't look back, didn't linger, just turned and walked away. That small act was more than a gesture. It was a final severing of chains, A declaration she was done being invisible, done being the unpaid bill, done being forgotten. The phone buzzed relentlessly. Texts from Corbin, messages from Sable, calls from her father. They pleaded, they demanded, they tried to reason, but Dalia didn't respond. Not a word. No explanations, no apologies. Because sometimes the loudest statement is made in absolute silence. She let the phone lie face down on the counter, unread, unanswered. Her silence was her power, a wall they couldn't break. She wasn't begging, she wasn't pleading. She was gone, in every sense. And now they could only hear the echo of the space she left behind. When Dalia stopped responding, the tone of the game changed. Whispers began to spread. Quiet rumors turned loud. She was called unstable, emotionally disturbed, dangerous. Her father sent emails to her workplace, labeling her as a liability, confirming emergency contacts, attempting to control the narrative. Friends and colleagues were warned, and suddenly the support she once had started to wither away. It was no longer about love or family. It was a calculated campaign to isolate her, to silence her, to break her. In the midst of the storm, Lucinda, the kind-hearted aunt, reached out. She handed Dalia an old yellowed letter, written years ago by Grandma Ruth. The handwriting was delicate, fading with time, but the words burned clear and true. Don't make yourself small just to make others comfortable. I see you, even when they don't. Dalia held the letter close. For the first time in a long time, she felt seen. Not by the family who erased her, but by the one who truly understood. That letter became her anchor, a reminder she was not alone, not invisible. She wasn't crazy or too sensitive. She was loved, even if it was only by one. Dalia didn't want a war. She didn't want revenge. She wanted acknowledgement. She compiled her recordings, photos, and spreadsheets. A quiet dossier of the years she'd been erased and used. She sent it not to the world, but to a select few. Family members who still respected her. Friends who still believed. There was no public spectacle, no loud accusations, no angry posts, just a simple truth laid bare. She didn't need to expose them. She just needed to prove that she was no longer silent, that she was reclaiming her story. She clicked cancel on Netflix, on Hulu, on every streaming service she had ever paid for. She withdrew her support from Corbin's tuition, terminated her name on every insurance plan, closed every credit card linked to her. Each click was a small revolution, a step closer to freedom. Her family didn't notice at first. No alerts, no messages, no missed calls. They only realized she was gone when the bills stopped being paid, when services were cut off, when the group chat she once belonged to no longer had her name in it. But by then, Dalia wasn't coming back. Dalia started a new chapter, not just in her life, but in her purpose. She joined a nonprofit, a place that helped women break free from financial abuse. Every story she heard, every woman she helped was a thread stitching her wounds back together. Her past pain transformed into power. Her losses became lessons. In lifting others, she lifted herself. And for the first time in years, she felt whole again. On a quiet afternoon, Dalia stood by Grandma Ruth's grave. In her hands, an old photo album filled with memories she once tried to keep alive. She placed the album gently on the stone. No tears, no anger, no regrets. Just a whispered truth. I wasn't erased. I was born again by walking away. For the first time, she let go. And in that release, she found peace. Sometimes the hardest battles aren't fought on the outside. They happen within the walls of our own homes. Dalia's story reminds us that loyalty should never come at the cost of losing yourself. Silence can be mistaken for consent, but true strength lies in setting boundaries, in knowing when to walk away from people who see you as a resource, not a human being. Remember, your worth is never measured by how much you give, but by how much you honor and protect your own peace. You deserve to be seen. You deserve to be valued. You deserve to be loved for who you truly are. If Dalia's story moved you, don't forget to subscribe to Whispers of Life. Here, we share powerful stories that touch the heart, shine light on hidden struggles, and inspire you to reclaim your own voice. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a story that could change your life. Because your story matters, and here you will always be heard.